Hey guys, I'm Nick and welcome back to the channel. Well, we've finally got a bit of new Star Trek news to report on. It's been a bit dry over the last few weeks of new stuff to report on, but we've finally got some new goss in the form of the very first image to show us what Star Trek Prodigy might look like. It's only a still image, it's not video, but we get to see some of the new characters in this show. So CBS just released this new photo featuring some of the characters in Star Trek Prodigy. We've got a sort of a robot droid kind of character, a very stocky looking engineer. He's got spanners and he's got all manner of tools and so forth hanging off his belt. We've got a long, slender character of race I can't tell what it is. Another guy with a very wavy haircut, pinkish sort of freckles on his head, a blob, and a big rock person. I always like to keep things very positive and upbeat on my channel. I don't like to be negative or critical. I like to keep things positive. But I was a bit disappointed by this image because there's nothing about it that says Star Trek to me. There are no races that are recognisably Star Trek races. There's no, Trill, Vulcans, Romulans, Klingons, Cardassians, Ferengi, you name it. There's no recognisable races here. This could be a photo of any science fiction series whatsoever. There is nothing whatsoever about these characters that say anything remotely Star Trek to me from a historical point of view, which is kind of disappointing. I knew this was going to be a show about, young people out there kind of exploring the galaxy in a scavenged old Starfleet vessel and so forth. But I thought there'd be, there'd probably be a human character. I thought there might be a Vulcan or a Cardassian or just some races that have a grounding in Star Trek. Something that you look at and you go, oh, yep, I recognise that as Star Trek. But I got to say, none of these characters say Star Trek to me at all. The first character, which is obviously a robot, reminds me of one of the robot characters from the video game Portal. If any of you guys have played Portal, there's a couple of robots in that, Peabody and Atlas. This guy reminds me a little bit of Atlas, who was the round ball-shaped robot from Portal. The mechanic guy with the sort of snaggletooth and all of the tools, there are no Star Trek races that he reminds me of. The tall, thin one looks more like a Twi'lek or something from Star Wars. The big rock person is sort of more like the Thing from the Fantastic Four. Although there is a vague resemblance to the character of Yeoman Colt, who we saw very, very briefly at the end of Season 2 of Discovery as one of the officers on board Pike's Bridge of the Enterprise. Although the scaling between these two characters in terms of their size, I think cancels out this race as a possibility. And the blob character reminds me a bit of Yaphet from the Orville. Don't get me wrong. The animation style looks great. It looks fantastic, and I'm sure this show is going to look $1 million. I think the quality of this image and the look of the animation is top notch, and I think that's going to look fantastic. But I'm just really disappointed that there aren't any recognisable Star Trek races amongst the characters. Hopefully they will explain it in a way that it makes plausible sense. Maybe they'll say, oh, these guys are from the deep end of the Gamma Quadrant, an area we haven't encountered before. And maybe the Federation ship goes through the wormhole at Deep Space Nine and they end up scavenging this Federation ship somewhere halfway across the Gamma Quadrant. The races of Star Trek, probably the Gamma Quadrant ones will be the ones we haven't really known as much about, because we obviously know about the Changelings and the Jem'Hadar and the Vorta and so forth. But beyond that, we haven't got a huge glimpse into the Gamma Quadrant races. We got a good cross-section of Delta Quadrant races because obviously through the 7 years of Voyager episodes, we had the Voyager going from one side of the Delta Quadrant to the other, exploring. So there was quite a lot of Delta Quadrant races revealed in Voyager. So unless they're going to set this show in the Gamma Quadrant and the Federation ship that they find is just managed to sort of, it was adrift, it's come through maybe one of the wreckage of the ships that were involved in the battle at the Dominion War perhaps or whatever, and they kind of find it and rebuild it, that I could kind of get on board with. Now, one aspect that makes me think that it could be a Gamma Quadrant based team here for Star Trek Prodigy, is that during an ad for Paramount Plus where they showcased all of the Star Trek series that were going to be on Paramount Plus, there was a very short clip when they spoke about Star Trek Prodigy where they showed a battle sequence which seemed like it was from one of those DS9 big battle moments in the Dominion War. I think it was Favour the Bold, or it was Sacrifice of Angels, or something to that effect, where there was a huge battle sequence between the Defiant and the Dominion and the Cardassians and so forth. And they showed this clip while they were talking about Star Trek Prodigy. So I wonder whether this might link to Prodigy in a way that maybe part of this big battle sequence where the Dominion War was going on, one of the damaged Federation ships got thrown through the wormhole into the Gamma Quadrant. And the reason we see these guys here, and none of them are recognisable Star Trek races, is because they're from somewhere deep within the Gamma Quadrant, which we're not sort of that familiar with, apart from the Vorta, the Jem'Hadar, and the Changelings. So I wonder whether Prodigy will begin with some moments from that DS9 Dominion War event, because they seem to reference that when talking about it in this Paramount Plus ad. I think that way, at least, it would be plausible as to why we haven't seen any of these races before and they're completely foreign to us. When you're starting a new show like Star Trek Prodigy, I think you want something that's going to ground it in that Star Trek franchise. You want some familiarity about it. You want to see a race or two that, that grounds it. I think if you're going to introduce new races, it's nice to have one familiar one into the mix just to kind of sell it as Star Trek. So yeah, I mean, this is a great first image from the show. Style looks great, animation quality looks great. I'm just really disappointed that all of the races are alien and completely unfamiliar from a Star Trek point of view. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think this looks great? Are you looking forward to Star Trek Prodigy? Were you disappointed there are no recognisable Star Trek races in this, or are you completely cool that all of our characters are completely unheard of races that we've never seen before in the Star Trek universe? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. As always, guys, please don't forget to like, to share, to subscribe, to click on my link for merchandise with some really cool stuff you can get your hands on there, and also check out the memberships page by clicking that join button. Otherwise, I'll see you guys very soon for my next review.